Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Is Peshawar burning? Well, let us take a quick look at this video and then I have a few things to say about it. Here we go. I'm going to play it again because it was too short. So let's see again. These were pictures from Peshawar. You can see some fire, and people are now saying that General Bajwa's house as well as Major General Faisal's house have been surrounded by protesters. Let's first take a look at what is happening in Peshawar. We have to remember that KPK state is under rule by the PTI, that is Tehreek-e-Insaf of Pakistan, which is Imran Khan's party. They are in power there. So if they are protesting, this could very well be the government saying that, look, Imran Khan has been shot, so we have to express our solidarity and therefore let us do something. I'm not saying that's what happened, but I'm just saying that's a possibility. Now, people are also saying that the whole incident of Imran Khan getting shot could also have been stage managed. Well, yesterday, I think I've pointed it out that, there were two sets of shots. One was a series of automatic gunfire, and then after a pause of a couple of seconds, you saw one other shot and then one more shot. So these things kind of give you suspicion whether it was stage managed or not. So, and I had said that if you do a clear forensic test of the entire set of bullets, you can establish whether they all came from the same gun or if they came from different guns. Now, my theory gains more credence because now I'm also hearing that there were two shooters and one of them had an AK-47 and that person has been shot dead. Again, this thing just blurred and then it just went away. We don't know if that is true or not. So that's another question that is being asked. But bigger picture here is, whenever there are political shootings, assaults, you never get to know the truth. I'll give you another example. And this is happening in San Francisco at the house of Speaker Nancy Pelosi. They're saying that Paul Pelosi was attacked by a stranger. Now, I heard the police press conference after that, and the police confirmed that the stranger was in his underwear. Wait a minute. What the heck was somebody? This is cold, guys. Right now, it's very, very cold. It is winter in North America, and San Francisco is a fairly cold place. Somebody cannot be going about in an underwear. So what I'm trying to say is, after that, this was like 4 or 5 days ago, they said that, Paul Pelosi is fighting for his life. He's stable now, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But the whole thing has now been suppressed. Why I'm bringing up this is that many of such political accidents, the truth rarely comes out. But you take a look at the fallout of this. Imran Khan now, if elections are held, will probably come back to power. We don't know if he'll get an absolute majority or not. Certainly, he can now say, "Look, I am." They wanted me out, and that's why they tried to get rid of me. Set aside the point that it was staged or not. Usually what happens is in staged assassination attempts, somewhere something will go wrong and people will blurt out. Is that what happened in this case? I don't know. But you also see that the shooter has confessed that he was a lone attacker. That thing happened very, very quickly. So if Imran is not in power, for Imran to have managed all that, it's a little difficult. That's what I see. So maybe it was something else. Maybe it was an assassination attempt gone wrong. And it could be a combination also. It could be a combination where, part of it was done on an automatic rifle. And then somebody else said, well, let us just shoot this man in the legs so that he can get even more benefit out of this. Again, this is a wild theory. The way to fix that, or the way to find the truth, is to look at the bullets and see if they got fired from the same gun, and also if they are the angle of shooting also comes into play. As soon as the guy started shooting, somebody tried to chase him and he ran away. So see, that is the other question. Anyway, the long and short of it is Pakistan is going to a dull, dark phase. Nobody knows how things are going to play out. They still haven't recovered from the floods. And, it's amazing that except for Punjab state, other states really got hit by the floods. So what you're seeing, whether it is Gujranwala, the Lahore, they are not reflecting the real state of affairs in Pakistan. And I am not sure if Imran Khan comes back, if that's going to change things any better. The the country is in for a lot of pain. However, if Imran should come back to power, assuming again that elections will be held shortly and that he comes back to power, the equation between the establishment and the polity, that is the one that is of importance. And here, the world can play a role. The world can send observers for that elections to make sure that the elections are fair and transparent. If that happens, then certainly the world can say, yes, this person is the legitimately elected Prime Minister of Pakistan. And then the world can start coming to the help of Pakistan. This is just my 2 cents. Feel free to let me know if I'm totally wrong or what. At the same time, we have to remember that Pakistan is an important country. It has nuclear weapons. And that is the concern that the world has. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And I'm going to take some questions. Please put your questions with the Ask Sri hashtag. And without help today, so I'm going to try and manage the questions myself. Here we go. First question from Shifty Skunk. Could it be that Imran Khan might have arranged this shooting to further inflame the situation? Shifty Skunk, I don't think that's your name, but anyway, I don't think he did it. It's just, like I said, when you are not in power, you don't have many variables in control. And they were traveling in a container. That container is essentially on a flatbed truck or something like that. And you saw that there were 60, 70 people in there. And that's a big crowd to control. And to just isolate and pick Imran Khan and shoot him and stage it, I find it a little hard to believe. However, anything is possible. One person has indeed died of gunshot wounds. So is this the same as the shooter? Again, data is very sketchy at this point of time. We don't know. All I wanted to bring to everyone's attention is Pakistan is on the boil. Next question from Vikram. Nuclear death hand Russia weapon really exists? Before Vikram, can you please expand on your question? I'll wait for you to rephrase your question in a slightly more legible way for me to understand what you're saying. And we'll wait for that, and I'll go to the next question. Now, there's a observation from Sham Bhonde. He says, was Imran standing in the tanker? He was not standing above out on the top, but he was standing by the side. If you look at the tanker had a left side opening, and he briefly stuck his head out. You could see him actually. He was starting to wave to the people, and that's when the shooting is supposed to have occurred. Interestingly, he got into the car after being shot on his own. And then he was carried off in a stretcher when he arrived at the hospital. He's said to be out of danger. He has issued a statement. I covered all this in my yesterday's hangout. Pappu G wants to know, is it the beginning of civil war? I kind of doubt that, Pappu. I mean, the civil war, meaning like people turning on themselves, may not happen. Here, what you have are two players, the establishment and the polity, and we don't know where the PML, that is Nawaz Sharif section, as well as the People's Party of Bhutto, where they stand in this, whether they're just watching to see if things will get quelled or not. I mean, the easiest thing would have been to let his long march pass off peacefully. Now that has not happened, this is only going to make Imran Khan's hand stronger. However, will that get so strong that he starts actually governing the nation is something that has to be seen. That's why I'm saying that when elections happen, I'm sure the elections are going to be called sometime soon, that the United Nations should send an observer team that spreads across Pakistan to make absolutely sure that the elections are conducted in a fair and transparent manner. The establishment should agree to that. Come on now. I mean, you guys are feeding off of taxpayer money from other countries. So that should be something that should be mandated. Let's hope that that happens. Next question. Goblet Fire wants to know, sir, is the chaos in Pakistan going to inspire antisocial elements in India to go to action? What do you think happened in Kowai? What do you think happened in the Morbi Dam? I mean, you can say there was structural flaws. It's a 100-year-old dam, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff is okay. But there is a certain physics concept called as resonance. And if you shake it at a certain frequency, that can actually create a resonance. And I don't know if that happened or not. Physicists have to come in and weigh on that. You can examine the video footage to say that this is what happened, because the people who did that went at a strategic spot and did it close to the center of the bridge. Again, yesterday I had a hangout with, actually I should say today morning India time, I released a hangout with Delhi R. Rajagopalan, where he said that 8 foreign countries are funding regional parties to try and prevent Modi from coming back to power in 2024. And that's not something that they're going to start near 2024. They're going to start now. So whether it is Gujarat or what happened in Kallakurichi in Tamil Nadu, he had a story to tell there. I encourage all of you to watch that video also. It's gone viral. That gives you a fair amount of insight. Without naming the countries, he has said what has happened on the ground in India. Yes, there are antisocial elements who are trying to make hay while all this trouble happens, and India needs to be watchful. Darwinian Chimp wants to know, will the announcement of next army chief cool down PTI antics? Possible. At this point, though, people may not be willing to accept a change in guard. Again, we have to see how the Aam Aadmi in Pakistan is going to react. At this point of time, there is a sense of outrage. So they have believed that Imran Khan was indeed shot. Why? Because there is precedence. You had Benazir Bhutto assassinated this way. You had the other Zulfikar Ali Bhutto hanged. And you had Ziaul Haq go down in a plane. So, there is the political leadership in Pakistan has had often a violent death. So could this be the last straw on the camel's back? I don't know. But certainly the people are really struggling to come out of the floods. Their rice crop, their wheat crop is ruined. So that is another problem. They'll be looking for other countries to help with aid for food. And a hungry stomach is a very, very dangerous stomach, if you ask me. So we have to wait and see how things play out. Ambarish wants to know why the burning of Pakistan is not covered in media much. Is it really happening? Well, this is breaking news. I saw it like 15 minutes before I went live, and I said that this is important because there are 3 or 4 sites who have already covered this video. Only one source has sent the video. Wait for a few hours, you'll see more videos, whether Bajwa's house has indeed been surrounded, whether Major General Faisal's house has also been surrounded. Those are all more of an indicator that this is not located or limited only to Peshawar, but that the unease, the riots have spread to Islamabad also. So we have to wait and see. I don't know where the houses of these 2 gentlemen are. Could be Islamabad, it could be Rawalpindi. So we have to wait and see how that plays out. Umesh Kumar Agarwal wants to know, is American deep state involved in the assassination attempt? The real honest answer, Umesh, is I don't know. And these things rarely come out. But you have to understand, US, why should US bother? I mean, okay, so few statements that Imran Khan made that US is after my dethroning and so on and so forth. If you look at the amount of statements that the other Pakistani politicians have made against America while also putting out their hand for aid, this is nothing. So I don't think the United States is too concerned about Imran Khan as an individual. I think more importantly, the United States is more concerned about how the Pakistanis are going to manage their nuclear arsenal. That's of the bigger concern. Okay, Bonito Kumar says, waste of time. Tell what's it take for India. Otherwise, who cares if it implodes? Well, the fact that you are watching this video means that you do care, don't you? It is important. If your neighbor's house is on fire, it doesn't take very long for your house to go on fire too. Remember that. Aryan wants to know, sir, should our agency make the benefit out of this firing? Should Modi ji try to divide Pakistan into four parts, just like in 1971? You know, dividing a country into four is actually not so easy. Aryan, you have to have a setup in place to take over with four countries becoming independent. You know, a lot of groundwork has to be done. You have to have the administrative setup. You have to have the constitutions, at least a plan in place. You have to find the thinkers in all these intelligentsia, intellectuals to get together and say, how shall this country be? What kind of laws should this country have? So a lot of debates have to happen. For all that, it's going to take a few years. What is right now going to happen is essentially some sort of unrest. It might spur into bigger riots, but at the end of the day, the Pakistani public has been told that it's the establishment that takes care of you. So at some point, the army will assert itself. Already, I'm hearing that army has been called out in Peshawar to quell the riots and so on and so forth. So we have to wait and see. I mean, the next thing they may do is they might dismiss the government of PTI in KPK province, and that would become like under president's rule. And then that will be another attempt they'll try to bring it under control. But Shehbaz Sharif has not answered, as far as I could see, to the allegation made by Imran Khan that Shehbaz Sharif himself was behind his assassination attempt. So he has to prove it. And I told you a way to prove it. Just do a proper forensic study of all the bullets fired and lay it out, and people will understand. Aryan wants to know, sir, should our agency make the benefit out of this thing? I've already answered this question. You just repeated with the Ask Sri hashtag. Thank you. I really appreciate it if people can put the Ask Sri hashtag. There are a lot of questions coming. Vikram, if Americans destroy Russia through nukes automatically, all the Russian nukes launch America and its allies, is it really exist? Vikram, nuclear arsenal is something that you usually threaten with, but you don't deploy, because the world has already seen the devastation that happened over Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And even today, Chernobyl, which is I think 1996, that area still has a lot of no-go places, and many people have terminal cancer disease. So I don't think anybody will use the nuke option. It is something like a threat, like a Damocles sword hanging over your neck. And here is another question. Vamsi Krishna wants to know, US and China don't want Imran Khan in power. This could be PTI's inside job. Your comments on this? I don't know if US and China really see Pakistan as a place where they can put anything to take something out. I mean, Pakistan owes billions every year in just interest payments to China for the CPEC project. And I don't see them being able to pay any of that. Does that mean that China will get some part of Pakistan in exchange for non-payment of loans? People are already saying that the Gilgit area more or less is being administered by China. And now they are also saying that POK also is finding increasing Chinese presence. So all these things should concern India. That, why is, first of all, this is India's territory. Pakistan is squatting, and now China joins it. What the heck? So maybe that's why Defense Minister has sounded out saying that we will take POK. So that's a minor in itself. But it might happen. We don't know. And even if India is planning to do something there, India will not play its cards. It will be very, very close to its chest. We have to wait and see. That's a good question, though. Mighty KK006. If Imran returns to power, with the F-16 still get serviced? Will Xi lavish Pakistan with billions of US dollars? Xi himself is bankrupt, so I don't see that happening. And there is no compelling reason for China to invest in Pakistan. Proof of the fact that China is bankrupt is that they did not lift their little finger to help Sri Lanka out of its crisis, even though they have Hambantota on a 99-year lease. So that tells you that China doesn't have any money anymore. Bonito Kumar, sir, are we funding Baloch, or is it possible to fund them to create more chaos internally and make them extremists? That is, give them the taste of what they did for JNK. Bonito Kumar, go to P Guru's channel, youtube.com, look for P Gurus, and inside the P Gurus channel, search on Major Madan Kumar. We did 4 or 5 videos on Balochistan where this specific question was asked, and there was a long answer that Major Madan Kumar gave. I want you to go take a look at that. Very informative videos. We, in fact, have actual videos of things being done on Pakistani army on that. JIWYIU go. I don't know how you say that. GVU go. Okay. So China's Ngari prefecture is just 300 kilometers away from Delhi. Does our defense establishment well prepared for a future direct attack? Good question. India is preparing. I don't know if India is ready to face the brunt of all the Chinese weaponry. India might need some help from maybe United States, like the way Ukraine is now able to thwart Russia. However, it is also a collective belief that China would think 10 times before invading anyone, including Taiwan, because it is a net exporter and it is now having a huge crisis in terms of a drought. Yesterday's interview with Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, if you look at that video, he has actually given you the mapping of August 22 as to how many regions in China are hit by the drought. They've been very, very quiet about it. They also stockpiled, but the stockpiles will run away very quickly. Also, there is a rumor that Foxconn plant closed down because 8 people died of COVID complications. And this is again a rumor. You can see some videos in YouTube that talk to you about how many people have been affected. You can see people walking towards their homes and a lot of angry looks. This is a Foxconn plant, and that might be good news for India because then some more manufacturing of Apple will move to India and perhaps Vietnam. So we have to wait and see there. Krishna Kumar wants to know, what is the risk reward ratio for India to take back POK? The reward is getting back rightfully what is its. The risk is that I'm told a lot of ex-servicemen from Punjab of Pakistan have settled in POK, and that Kashmiri is rarely spoken in POK now, and it has basically become another Punjab-like province. So that is the bigger challenge. That okay, if you go in and occupy, what do you do next? The plus side again is I'm hearing the Mudirka area has a bioweapon lab that China has put, which means there is a fair amount of Chinese presence. Maybe it might be easy for India to knock out or push out China from POK. And if they can do that, that would be a big statement to China saying that we will rightfully get back what belongs to us. But that has a cost associated with it. I don't know how ready India is, because this can easily conflagrate along the LAC. You attack here, they'll attack there. So how prepared are you? So there is a lot of modeling that one needs to think. Nobody is going to just keep quiet when you're trying to drive them out from one area. They'll try and see which other area is weak and try to hit from there. What if China attacks Arunachal Pradesh and or attacks from Bhutan and cuts off the northeast from India? Is it worth it? Is it worth giving away northeast for the small land of POK? So those are the questions that people will be asking themselves. So it's not an easy question to answer. Rahul T wants to know how trust deficit between PTI and Army affect Pakistani economy in the long term. Many people say Pakistani economy is not like an organized economy, like there is not a big stock market, there are not many public companies, very little. It's primarily an agrarian economy, and they are going to be hurt more from the devastation due to their floods than anything else. So there is an informal economy in place there. So, Basel reforms, these are all meaningless as far as Pakistan is concerned. So the bigger challenge for them is how do they feed everyone post these floods. That is a bigger problem in my opinion, and we haven't heard much about what is happening there. Vikram wants to know, It was told by Russian delegate in 1919 interview because of Ronald Reagan became president of US in Cold War era. Vikram, what was your original question? I'm going to try and get back to your original question. Sorry, I'll have to defer this answering this one. I can't find your original question. Vikram, please take a few minutes. Write down on a piece of paper what you want to ask and then type it in. Thank you. Nitin Vishwa wants to know how big a threat is instability to India. Nitin, this is a threat. India's border with Pakistan is fortified. However, if they breach in one place using artillery or something like that and then start streaming in, it becomes a very, very difficult thing to manage. Remember that there are, like, I think 3 or 4 layers, and India will be able to hold off. But when things get really bad, when somebody gets really hungry, that's when things will get out of hand. So India needs to keep a careful watch on what is happening in Pakistan. A few days back, I visited a few districts near Chicken Corridor and near the Bangladesh border. It has been populated immensely by 60 to 70% of peacefuls. What is the government of India doing? Well, law and order is a state subject. You should be asking the state governments what they are doing. And there are some things put in place by the government of India to try and prevent all these people from voting. If you're not a citizen of India, you cannot vote. But political interests try to bribe the local machinery into giving them voter cards, Aadhaar cards, and so on. But India thinks that it has a fairly good grip on its Aadhaar scheme, and they may be using that by tying it with the voter card to take or prevent non-citizens from voting. Once that happens, that's the first step. You don't want them influencing your elections. Once you do that, then you can start concentrating on getting them evicted out of the country. Someone is telling me that Mudirka is in Lahore. So there is one other place in POK. That's where I think they are having it. But anyway, it's okay. There is one place that China has parked some of its virus labs in Pakistan. That much I know. Skan Joshi wants to know, what is the substitute for Russian gas for Germany? Even in Afghanistan war of Russia, gas was fueling German economy. Good question. Skand, the challenge for Germany is to find an alternate supplier. One of the things Germany has done, or two things, they have restarted their nuclear electricity generation plant, because you can generate heating gas or heating of rooms using electric also. And they've also started using some of their coal-fired power plants. So they are trying to see if they can wean themselves off of Russian petrol and natural gas. The downside for Russia for this is, if Germany can pull it off, that means basically Europe can pull it off, then their market for their product suddenly collapses. And that would mean that the petrol and gas price worldwide will collapse, because Russia will start, finding any place that it can sell its crude for. It's a seesaw game. I'm not so sure if it's going to break that way. One side says the winter is going to be moderate. The other side says the winter is going to be extreme. The weather could play a very decisive part in this. We have to wait and see. Good question. Rumors that Ukraine is planning to use bad bombs now. Your comment. Well, this has been allegation of Russia in the United Nations that Ukraine is planning a dirty bomb. And this came about because there was a nuclear-based power plant called Zaporizhzhia. And this is in Ukraine. And this plant has been shut down because the Russians bombed the heck out of it now. And it is running only on diesel. And it is off of the national power grid. I think 30 to 40% of Ukraine is now without electricity. That's a new challenge for Ukraine. The reason why people are thinking that there may be a dirty bomb is that it is alleged that some of the nuclear rods from this Zaporizhzhia plant had gone missing, and that that they were not being accounted. This happened when Russians came to take over Zaporizhzhia. For some time, they had control over this particular plant. So this is also that, the territory control going back and forth between Ukraine and Russia. So it is stuck in that area. So we have to wait and see what truth emerges. Certainly, US is not buying that in Ukraine is going to use a dirty bomb. In fact, Ukraine is saying that we don't want ceasefire because we are very close to getting back much of the occupied territory by the Russians. Remember, Russia has occupied not only the Donbass region, but parts of Kherson region, which is in southern part of Ukraine, and northeast Kharkiv. Ukraine believes that Kharkiv has been completely under control back of Ukraine. Again, belief is what I have to underline 2-3 times. Nobody knows unless somebody goes in and takes a real look at it. You can't say for certain. But clearly, Russia is depending on Iran for its drones now. It's actually attacking civilian establishment. There could be other consequences because of what or how this war is progressing at this point of time. I think I'd like to stop taking questions, please. I have 2 or 3 more, and then we will call it a wrap. 30 minutes have already elapsed. Nitin Vishwas wants to know, are there instances where a stable neighboring country managed the refugee crisis and other complications, such as civil war coming from a neighbor? How did it manage? Once you address the root cause, things kind of settle down. Let's take the 1971 war. March 25th, 1971 is when Operation Searchlight was started, where the Pakistani forces tried to do ethnic cleansing. That Mascarena's article, if you read it, it breaks your heart. How Hindus were singled out and killed. And many Bangladeshi Muslims also helped in that. There's a group called Jamaat Islami, which helped identify Hindus in a mixed community who were living peacefully for years. So when that happened, so March 25th is when Operation Searchlight began. And then the exodus started around 2-3 days later. Everybody started fleeing for India. Okay. And in December, Bangladesh got liberated and formed. But many of these people, in fact, almost all of them did not go back because they were, terrorized by the memories of what had happened. And so the country got stabilized. India stopped, I think, in 1972, giving refugee aid to Bangladesh. Mujibur Rahman came up. Of course, he was only prime minister for 2 years before he was assassinated. And now his daughter is the prime minister. There is some semblance of stability, although people keep saying that it's the Bangladesh military that still calls the shots. I don't know. Some Bangladeshi intellectuals can weigh in here to tell me what the reality on the ground is. I do know that there are attacks, especially around Durga Puja time, on the remaining Hindus in Bangladesh. There's also conversion going on, which is really, really sad. Bangladesh was considered to be a much more friendly country as far as its minorities are concerned. Krishna Kumar wants to know, what is your view about desalination plant for drinking water? With China building dams here and there and everywhere, how can India safeguard its water interests? Krishna Kumar, there was a video that I did with Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar in great depth about the damming of the Brahmaputra by China as to whether it would cause a drought in India. And he gave data and statistics to show that the water from Brahmaputra was not what feeds the lower part of India, that is from Arunachal Pradesh all the way down to Bangladesh, but it is other rivers. There are 14 tributaries that feed into Brahmaputra. They give a lot of rain. So there are numbers, statistics, and so on and so forth. So as far as the current water is concerned, that is not an issue. China has these grand plans of digging tunnels and getting the water from Brahmaputra thousands of miles across to where its population lives. I don't know whether that's going to be possible or not, but China prides itself as being a very tunnel powerful nation. However, the Himalayas are relatively young in terms of when they got formed. You remember that the whole Himalaya formation is because the plate tectonics movement, India plate hitting against the China plate. I don't know the exact technical names for it, but that is how Himalayas got formed. So it's very dangerous to do this thing. But China thinks it can do it. So desalination plants will not be for northern part of India. They'll be more needed for the coastline, because you need sea water to desalinate, put a desalination plant. And it is definitely viable, for example, to put a desalination plant in Tamil Nadu or in Andhra Pradesh. Andhra Pradesh has a little bit better water irrigation system because it has one live river, Godavari. Krishna is not it's not perennial. I think there are few months it runs dry. But Tamil Nadu certainly needs desalination plant if it has to keep the population with adequate amount of water. In fact, the Kaveri slope is quite gentle. You could even theoretically pump it back to upstream on Kaveri to get the water to people residing not just at the coast but even inside Tamil Nadu. The bigger, more effective way to do it would be to go back to the system that was evolved or put in place during the Chora period. What they used to do was, whenever there were heavy rains, they had all these reservoirs that would connect to the Kaveri river, so that they would take the water and they would store it there. So during the rainy season, that the complete water wouldn't go and flow into the Bay of Bengal, but they could, take it and harness that and keep them in local lakes and ponds and so on and so forth. It's an intricate system. It can be revived. I think somebody needs to spend some time looking at that and doing it. These things have to happen together: desalination as well as trying to preserve or save as much water as possible during the rainy season. Okay, last two questions. Akshay Kumar wants to know, while India is focusing on POK, Sri Lanka is fueling Chinese warship from Hambantota port. We were the ones who broke that story. India needs to neutralize sea threats. History says even East Indian Company entered from the south. Absolutely true. And Akshay, some of the things that India is doing. First of all, India needed to be self-sufficient, needed to be able to build its own submarines. And I'm told that after INS Vikrant, the next submarine that India is going to have a fairly high indigenous content, like 90% or something like that. So these are all small steps that takes time to put. There may be some critical components, the technology for which might not be available, it might not be reverse engineerable. So a lot of things are there. But I think India is taking some definite steps. Clearly, tomorrow, if China starts attacking, especially today, I don't know if you've watched my DGI. What China has now done is, first of all, China has a range problem with their fleet, their naval fleet. It can only go 1,000 miles, which means from the Chinese port, they can only go out 1,000 miles. Now, what China has done is, it has now figured out a way to refuel its ships mid-seas using the help of neighboring countries. That means like countries like Indonesia, Philippines, what have you. That needs to stop. I mean, unless that is stopped, because if that stops, then China can't come and wage a war in Malacca Straits or on India shores. It would be much, much harder. So this is an intricate jigsaw puzzle. But whoever controls the sea controls the world. This is what the British proved from the 16th, 17th century onwards. And it's been true. Once the British vacated, the United States came in. They were actually patrolling the high seas. They were making sure that everywhere peace reigned, including the Hormuz Straits, from where much of the oil flows out to the east. So now the US is kind of getting a little tired about it, and they're saying, well, why should we be the police cop for the whole world? We are going to, let them fend for themselves. So first off, you will start seeing Iran versus Saudi Arabia tensions, and this is where the big problem comes. And the country that's going to be hurt more is Iran. Saudi Arabia, you see, has found a way to get their supplies out by going to the other side, not to Hormuz. If you go and look at if you use Google to go look carefully at the Saudi Arabian map, they have figured out a way to get it to the other side. And so that is something that they did very cleverly. So we have to wait and see how this goes. If US says we are not going to do anything anymore. You guys fend for yourself. Let's see how that plays out. Simple Jack wants to know why Swach Bharat Abhiyan did not deliver results. How can we pick it up and to show real change on the ground? Simple Jack, take the unused tanks in the city. Okay, there are so many of those where people start using them as dumping grounds. Now, if that can be cleaned and you wait for the next monsoon cycle, that becomes a water source. This is not going to require any help from the city. The local people can get together, organize this, clean it, but you have to maintain it clean. That means it's a responsibility for everyone not to keep throwing their trash there. If you can do things like that, then to a large extent, you can have water bodies within the city. What does that do? First of all, we are constructing concrete jungles. For that means the temperature in the city keeps going up. Then in order to counter that, we all turn on our ACs. You see, that means you're burning more fossil fuel to do that. So instead, if you have water bodies with a lot of water on them, that kind of keeps the cities also cool. Cities like Bangalore, Coimbatore, Chennai, all these cities, if you don't take care of your lakes, then it's just going to be downhill from here on. So those are the things that we need to concentrate. For this, we don't need the government's help. They can just wait. Maybe they can give you some support to try and say, okay, we will provide trucks to take away the garbage while you guys clean your lakes. But this is something that has been attempted and done, and people have benefited from that. In rural areas, it's a lot easier. Remember, every village had a water body. Every village. Otherwise, the village never formed. I'm talking about thousands of years ago. Why would somebody want to collectively live in an area unless there was a water source? Water is fundamental to our life, right? So when you clean your lakes, you also automatically start doing Swach Bharat. That was my point. Sudhindra wants to know, desalination at a mass scale would lead to massive salinization of brackish waters, which would lead to infertility along the coast. Your view. Sudhindra, a lot has happened along India's coast already, and that has prevented the catch from even being close to the coast. What has happened, especially in Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, is many of these politicians had mechanized fleet where they would go and scoop up every fish and their progeny, even the eggs, everything, and then they'll bring it home, and they basically completely depleted the fish along the coast, which is why you see the TN fishermen being caught in Sri Lanka. Why do they do that? Because they have no more fish available on India's side. They have to go further and further into the ocean. Now there are some types of fish, I'm told, which only are close to a coast. So when you have to go and get that catch, what do? They go to Sri Lanka, which is the nearby coast, and they are trying to fish there, and then they get caught. All this problem was actually introduced by the politicians of Tamil Nadu. But they are the first ones saying that, oh, our fishermen are being jailed in Sri Lanka. These guys are rocking the cradle and also pinching the baby. And nobody talks about the pinching part, which is very, very unfortunate. In fact, in the olden days, when fishermen used to manually catch, if they found a pregnant fish, they would take it from the net and put it back into the sea. These are all dharma. We had these things. We never, we never went and completely swooped out everything that was there. The mechanized trawlers have done that today into India. The Indian coast is completely barren. As to what can happen to the brackish water, well, there are many ways to deal with this. Israel has dealt with it. Understand the technology from Israel and then start implementing it in the way that they have done it there. They don't seem to have any problems. So all I'm trying to say is, as a concept, we need to get behind a concept, and then after that, you start implementing it. I'm sure we can find a way to reduce the brackishness. Last question. Shyam wants to know, what's your view on e-rupee? Shyam, this is essentially something that will be done from a government to government level. It could be done probably from state governments to center also. It's a way to try and reduce the inefficiencies in transfer system. And you can also do better accounting, because once you have a digital rupee, digital accounting of that rupee becomes easier. And then what happens is disbursement of the funds also becomes easier. Monitoring becomes easier. Once there is the digital rupee, then politicians cannot, take a cut out of it and fill their pockets. Many times what happens is many projects that come to the state, there's a fair amount of siphoning that goes on. So the digital rupee is aimed completely at cutting off that siphoning. The politicians who get the money will have to show the work for it, and it can be easily caught if they are trying to pilfer it. Thanks for watching, guys, and this was a wonderful session. A lot of very good questions from you all, and we have to wait and see how things play out in Pakistan. But at this point, India needs to do nothing. Don't do anything on POK. Keep building, keep fortifying, keep constructing roads along the borders. Be ready for any kind of hanky-panky mischief from China, because it is my belief that all in China are not happy with Emperor Xi, and this emperor is going to go down very, very quickly. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to click on the bell button for notifications. Namaskar.